My friend, today we're going to be doing, my member. Today we're going to be doing something really interesting that talks about music foundations. It's a little outside the box, but it's something that every musician should try to do. Follow me here. Vocal training. If you have the ability to put air into your body, into your diaphragm, and push it out of your esophagus through muscles in the back of your throat, meow, then you might have the ability to have a little diction with the way that we treat our mouth and our tongue and the way we pronounce, some songs, some words in different languages, and then how to sight read these and put them together with music fundamentals and dynamics is a must if you're going to be doing any sort of singing. But as far as understanding music, understanding how to sing is a grand part, regardless if you are indubitably a singer or not going to be a singer. So what I would like to do is discuss some of these things. I also ultimately would like to go and check to see if this thing that I'm doing right now is actually online for my members. I have been having a little bit of trouble, not as of late. I just generally have issues with tech being tech friendly. So long story short, I am saving this one here. It's going to be going out. Great. It is happening right now. If you want to watch this, that's awesome if you're a member. Have that going. So if you are watching this right now, please remember to ask questions. If you have this, ask questions. And today we're working on vocals. And if you find yourself as a member watching this in the future and you have questions, put them in the comment section. I will get to you. Faux show. Okay, now that I know it's going, I can cut that out, jump right back into OBS, and hold on to the reins. Excuse me. One of the most important things we want to do with vocals is to do a warm-up. Most vocal warm-ups, charismatically, are music theory. When we are doing, in at least the Western ear, when we do something called the solfege, we are assigning notes. 1. We are assigning 2. Nice and vibrant, yes. We're assigning 2. We are assigning 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. A status as an interval, meaning there are different spaces in between these notes. I guess the fundamental foundation of this would be that we are watching this as being something that is a diatonic scale, and we want to kind of know what the different notes are that flow in between them, so we would have a grander or a greater understanding of how the relationships of these notes go together. Having said that, the thing that I would like to do is make sure that what we're doing is we're seeing that this is one of 2 scales in the Western ear, one of which is being this diatonic scale, the other one of which is being something called the chromatic scale. So having said that, what I really want to do is be able to just show us that when we're playing such notes as, let's just start from a C major scale and throw that out there. C, D, E, F, G, A, and then B. Each one corresponds with an interval that I've chosen to represent by Roman numerals. You could do this in any way, shape, or form. I guess we could get rid of this and we could do it from the standpoint of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because sometimes that's the way you will be reading them on a piece of paper. However, this is also called the solfege, and I wanted to make sure that when you see some representation of this, it's not just one, it's many representations of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I personally, when I'm doing diatonic scales, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, I don't really want to put anything other than our 2 do's. So I don't generally put the 8 up here because it's nothing more than the 1 again. It's a repetition. It just happens to be an octave higher. If we sing this note and it's this wavelength, do! I always have to do that. Do. If we do ha 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 ha, well, there's one peak right here and there's one trough right here. Meaning the frequency or the oscillations of this vibration coming out of the back of 2 muscles smacking together when you push air through it allows us to see if we were to have 2 peaks and 2 troughs, by making the wavelength double inside the same amount of space, squeak, squeaky, we would now have a trough at the bottom and a crest at the top. Sorry about my drawing, not the bestest. This would represent a P8 or an octave. So when I'm going through these and I'm trying to hear them in my head, I realize that I do not have perfect pitch. Perfect pitch is for somebody that can hear the frequency or the oscillations being perfect. Like this, if I were to say 440, I'm going to go, boom, but I know that's not it. It's going to be up a half step, boom, or down a half step, boom, because I do not have perfect pitch. Boom. Let's hear it over here on the piano. Unless I'm right on, then great. That means I've been working at it. Here we go. Boom. Boom. Very close. Very, very close. When we do 440, we can go down 110, we go up, we do 880. All these are just multiplications by 2. So by discussing this, we could tell that by doing one that's 880, that the same thing would be this, but it would have 2 humps over the top of it. And it would sound as such. It would be higher in pitch. It means it's going up in the register, and only certain voices can sing certain registers. So the idea is you kind of get aware of that, and then you work on something called a falsetto. The falsetto is your head voice. It allows you to go above a note that you're capable of singing in your full voice. The reason why I'm talking about this is many people have asked me, what did I do for vocal training? Well, besides being in chorus and learning how to sight read and do stuff like that, there was stuff in high school and in college that we did for vocal exercises. But the real thing that was the practice was harmonizing. Being able to understand what notes sound good as dyadic forms, and then when you add in a third person, what sounds good when you're making chord structures or triads. How to move notes in betwixt these without leaps and bounds in step, and then how to write that out. It's not one thing in music that makes you a better player. It's all the things, I think. It's like complicating itself by trying to learn something you're not able to learn outside of your pay grade, but being aware that there's something to work towards, yeah, sure. So if you saw Jacob Collier do negative harmony one time and you're like, I want to do that, then research it. But if it breaks your brain, the things that take to get up to that would be understanding a circle relationship, what family chords are, how to build basic chord structures, what a foundation is, and then how to add on notes or how to add a foundation of the 7th or the minor 7th major 7th. So do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, and then do. You know what I find to be funny and weird? All of these are capitals except for these 2, so I am going to make those into capitals for consistency. Why not? When doing this one, of course, was the 1. This is our 2. This is our 3, 4. It's through the eyes of a major chord. These relationships change when you start viewing this through a different key. Roman numeral systems have been devised to be able to be read as chord charts. If you write as a Roman numeral rather than writing as a note name, like a G minor 7, you then don't have to go back and rewrite the entire piece of music in a key. It's already in the key when you use Roman numerals. You just need to apply the key towards it, because the 2 chord, the major 2nd in the key of C, is going to be a D minor sonority. The 2 chord in the key of B flat is going to be a C minor in sonority because it comes right after that. This first one is called the foundation, or represented by a T for tonic. We also have all majors in a major key. Major 2 goes to a major 3. We then have a perfect 4th, our perfect 5th interval, our relationship value. We've got a major 6th and then a major 7. And then when we get here, we have another perfect. It's an 8th. We just discussed like if we were doing like 440. Well, if we divide 440 by 2, 2 goes into 40. How many times? I hope so. I could do this. 20. And then how many times we go in here? Cool. 220. If we were to multiply this times 8 and go upwards here, we would have 880. These are 3 different variables of the same note, which have a relationship which is mathematically pure as we could get in the Western era. We're not working off another interval system, which was a little bit different than Pythagorean. It's a little bit different than our 12-tet system. It basically takes notes and shifts them so they sound a little bit more pleasing, a little bit more consonant, like they've got a great foundation. When we're building any type of note and we're trying to learn how to sing these, let's say we've got our clef right here. How about we do the bass clef? Anybody who's taken a little bit of theory would know that this bass clef here is going to be called the F clef. So this note is the F. If we work our way down, we could have our G, A, B, C. If I were to layer this note here, and this note here, we would be stacking them in something called tertiary harmony. These two notes are a third of some sort. These two notes are a third of some sort. If ever you should see a note that's on a space and then a note on a line, those notes will be touching, as they will either be a minor second or a major second. Now, there isn't a minor second in a major scale. This is a diatonic structure, unto which we've called the solfege, which can be classified as do, re, mi, fa, sol. Here, let's hear what a C sounds like. Do, 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 re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tonic, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, perfect eighth. The reason why I show these relationships through the eyes of the diatonic scale is because once you master what I'm about to show you, and not when I say master, once you get it, when you kind of like, you're like, no, I know how to do this now. They're called intervals. I need to learn how to hear their relationships between each other. When we start seeing these things, music becomes just a little bit easier to understand and then to feel. You actually start anticipating music like a Jedi. So if you think of your, your music foundation as your lightsaber, and then everything else is just the Force, well, learning all this stuff is the Force, the stuff that comes from your memory. I don't know why I went nerdy with Star Wars there, my bad. When we're doing this is called a chord. This note happens to be a C. This note happens to be C, D, E, F, G, C, E, G. This is a major chord. In the key, we have relationships, and the whole point of kind of doing these things too is this. I always try to teach to view music rationally through something called the circle. This is a C up top, or looks like we can't see that. No pun intended. Let me put a big old C up here. You see that right there? Pun intended. It was coming. The next chord that we do too is we move this over this way in the circle. We call this the circle of fifths. So the next note's going to be a G, C, D, E, F, G. G, A, B, C, D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. When we get down to brass tacks, we are simply layering all these in 5. The reason why I say the sharps we have previously added, it allows us to see this F sharp. If we don't, we would put F, and there's not the relationship value we're looking for. F major has 1 flat. That flat is B flat. This way, when we do these and we go around the circle, it allows us to see relativity, shows us a few enharmonic equivalencies, meaning D flat is a C sharp. When you play it on any instrument, the note that you play by going C sharp is a D flat. Just like E natural goes to E sharp. It's also called F natural. F flat is E. B sharp is C. C flat is B. All these have a couple different names. When you start naming chords, you kind of keep them relative. There is some weirdness. I'm not going to lie to you. Music theory, when you look at it from many different angles, would suggest that you must be a little insane to understand the complexity of it. And I get it. But the end result is you do not need anything that I'm talking about in any of this to actually have fun playing music. This is a acquired taste and another brand of trying to understand it. So when we're doing our frequencies and we use these, we would call this from this note. Let's say we're going here to here from this A to A. This would be called an octave. That's its relationship. We named it as a P8. If I wanted to go up another octave, it would be called a C8, as we are compounding octaves. Our compound octave can keep going. We would just keep moving those up and compound. We generally just look at music through the eyes of ranges. So generally a compound would be the highest. We've got a double compound. You also can notate, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So After seeing that all of our frequencies and all of our chords are just in different registers or ranges, we can see why the key of C major is so vitally important. C major doesn't have any of these sharps or any of these flats. Even when we name these enharmonically, if we took our 3 major chords, our 3 minor chords, and then lastly in a major chord, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, our diminished, 3 major, 3 minor, diminished, 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord. This is going to be our 2 chord. This is our 6 chord. This is our 3, and this is our 5 dominant generally, or it's going to be our diminished. That's how we kind of look at the circle fifths. When we put this back in correlation with what does this piano do? That's when we really start our fun. My register is more like here. That's what I'm going to work with. I'll also do some here, so you can start hearing some register movements. If I was going to say, hey, C major, no sharps, no flats. This is our major scale. The last chord, or the last note of these two, is a dissonance. It does not sound good. It needs a resolution. No matter how you compound that tertiary harmony, it will always want to have that desired effect. A resolution that is pleasing to your ear. So when we play C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C, we are playing the 7 notes that are part of our diatonic scale. To be fair, when we're utilizing the concept of is this a major second or is this a minor second, we have to kind of do practice in each key. Each key has different notes that look a little bit different, but they're generally the same. Keys like notes touching each other. These 2 notes, if they were filled in, would represent 2 notes that have a comparison relationship of a minor second or major second. It just so happens this one is an F to a G, right? But if we put a G flat right there, that would be a minor second. So you need to look at these to see if your accidentals, your sharp, your flat, or a natural, is changing the way that a key signature looks. Now right here, there is no key signature. We're in the key of C. But if we were doing something, let's say like F sharp, our C sharp, our G sharp, right here, that would have been a G sharp. Our F sharp to a G sharp, as it stands, is still this. So if we wanted a minor second and we wanted that to be a G natural, we would have needed to use our natural sign. That's what accidentals are for. When we see all this as just practicing it over and over again, the necessity is needing to write it out and do it with each key. All of my students, when they get to a certain level, if I find that they're digging it, we always do hypothetical keys. And we do keys that normally most musicians wouldn't write in. So you can start seeing how notes look on the stave or on the staff in a measure, and then how they look for their particular chord. There are tricks to sight reading. When you go through it, there are many different ways. I've done a couple different foundational ideas on that. The Landmark series is a good one to watch on my channel, or to Google and just talk about it with their friends. Get together, on Friday nights, open some ice cold pops, and talk about the circle of fifths in your chord relationships. I know how you kids are with your music theory. Laying it on thick. When we draw out a measure, let's say we're only doing a scale, so we're going to give it equal temperament. We'll put a tetrachord on one side, tetrachord on the other. Here is our treble clef. We're going to be building, let's say we work from the key of C major for the rest of this. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. All of the stems on these quarter notes are going to go on the right side and try to extend up at least a stem past the line. I know it's weird to do in the beginning. Any note that goes above the B can have a stem on either side. I'm just going to happen to put this one on this side, just why the heck not? And then because the C note is above the B line, the stem must go on the left side. That's how we write out notations. All of these are quarter notes giving a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not needed to write this, but anytime you do not write 4, 4, the meter of those measures will be common time, 4, 4. 4 beats per measure, quarter notes receive the beat. Meaning we can do some fun stuff with music when we're doing our practicing. And then since we've kind of gone through the whole idea of how to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, what these are called, the idea is while you're doing these, I would love for students that are practicing vocals because they want to be a vocalist to try to practice these with pronunciations. Fa, la, ra, ka, ma, ha, sa, ra. You can make up ways of doing these, like with the back throat gurgle, like a lion, or you could do them like mimicking nature. Or if you want to do like a raspberry, the notes themselves leave your mouth in a different way because of the amount of energy put into it, the amount of breath you have in your esophagus, your diaphragm, that air-filled sac below that gets compressed to push out notes. A lot of what we're talking about comes from the way the mouth is, and remember, I am not an artist. I do not draw well. If this is the mouth and the sound is coming out, when we have the loudest voice, that means that we have, you like my teeth here? Great. That means that it's coming out and the tongue is sitting flatly. Right on the bottom of the palate. As soon as we take that tongue and we put it up towards the top of our teeth, and we use that mechanism like this, it changes the way that the sound comes out of our esophagus, out of our mouth. I would say that from teaching many people, and the thing that I've noticed the most is when we're unable to hit the notes inside of our range, not because we are one of the 3 status. We either have perfect pitch, perfect, we've got relative pitch, or we are tone deaf. There are different levels to this, but what we aforementioned where we had the one wavelength and it comes out as a being able to hit that note without quavering, yeah, vibrato's fun. But if you wanted to just have that note and hear if we tried it with something like ta, 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 ta. Hear how there's a difference in the way we sing it, whether it's legato, nice, long and flowing, staccato, short and detached, but we still have a consonant, a sound that is derived from that vernacular, if you will. It's different in each language. If you're singing Olelo in Hawaiian language, you're going to have a more of a vowel-based language. The way that we form those would be different. We would have a lot more oohs and more ahs, more of that nature. If we're doing German, Deutsch, you would have more of a like a CH kind of sound over a lot of things as well. As mostly like, even like in Hawaiian, vai. In Hawaiian we say like vai, water or wealth. Well, in German, Deutsch, Wasser, Wassermann, Waterman or water horse, Wasser. Or coffin, coffin. So if we're saying like note head, if we fill in the note head, try Notenkoffen, that kuff, kuff, kuff. Feel that with your tongue. Try that kuh. It's almost like we're opening our mouths. The back of the tongue is hitting the back of the palate. Coffee, coffin. And then the rest of it is a back of our tongue smacking the top palate. And then a n, coffin. It's a 3-part motion. So other words that aren't n, they also have, like, if you said dolphin, it would be weird because you're not smooshing those syllables. Dolphin. So being able to say dolphin without having that third syllable, that means that whatever language you're talking in, speaking in, singing in, you have the ability to blend or to slur with legato different note values. That's all we're looking at. The different tones for perfect are you can hit 440 on nose. If somebody's like, hit a C and you're like, bong, no, bong, bong. Close, no cigar. Relative pitch is when you hear the different variations of these. They're referred to as cents And when you get down to it, it is spelt the same way that you would spell like dollars and cents. Side note, 2026, America got rid of the penny. I don't disagree. Anywho, when we're getting down to this, these are kind of like the Eastern system. The Western system, super defined with our diatonic system. If we were to put our minor second in between, minor third in between, we would move this. There is no step in between here. It is a half step or a minor second, a semitone. These would be a whole tone, whole tone. This is also a whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, and then half tone between the last note. Remember that dissonance we were just showing here? If we have that half step, if we did whole tone, we would not be going to fa anymore. We would be going to fa. Now, I've really never seen this by anybody else doing this. This is our minor 6 right here, minor 7th. Notice how I've got a little m rather than a large M. Major 3rd, minor 3rd. They are the notes that come in betwixt here. So if we're trying to see these, we get to have like a do here, du. This is a ri, not a re. This has no may, there is no fa. Up going here, we'd have our fi. This is our diminished 5th or our augmented 4th. Right after here, we have our psi. That's our 6th. Or, you could call this an augmented 5th if you want. But it's a minor 6. All these can have a bunch of different names. This one would be also the augmented 6th or minor 7th. I really wouldn't call a major 7th an augmented 7th. But yes, hypothetically, a P8 is an augmented 7th because the next note would be a half step away. I would just never write it that way. When we have the note in between here, we could have our li. Notice how these are fa, fi, so, si, la, li, ti, leads up to our top note. Oddly enough, in different languages, they all have some sort of solfege. Ga, ma, pa, sa, ra. When we're doing things in Indian, you also use these for ti. Happens to be the same. Coincidence. When we're trying to do these, we try to strive for perfection, but we're really just trying to become better at relative pitch, like I was. Being able to just when we have an instrument, know what note is, and be able to go like ha ha. Coming over to the piano, looking at it, going ha. Oh no, isn't that working there? Is it? Oh, what the G golly G's? There we go. Awesome, right on the head. What was? So this, even though it feels good as a C6, is still a dissonance. Our consonances would be 1, 3, 5, and 1. If we were to play a minor 6, we would be moving down our major 6 to here. Listen to that dissonance. Listen to it with the chord. Yeah. I can't stop and just hear the possibilities. So, how does one practice the practice of practicing? And notice how I didn't even talk about tone deaf. If you are tone deaf, honey, keep it going. There is something about being tone deaf and having the courage of a lion. I commend you. There are many people out there that are tone deaf that have never been told they are tone deaf and they cannot sing. I'm not one of those people. I will most definitely, in a situation, if asked, tell somebody they are tone deaf. I don't do it to be mean. I just tell them to say, hey, be mindful of the fact that you are not hitting notes. And if you have never practiced anything on here like this, been in a choral union, ever taken a lesson, ever worked on having inflection, work on vibrato, work on... Some people don't talk loud enough, and then they go to sing and they can't sing the notes because they don't speak loud enough. There's a dynamic issue. So there are just a multitude of different things that are actually what we work on. And I would never tell somebody they can't sing, but somebody who is tone deaf might want to know that they are tone deaf. I didn't know that I was musical, and somebody goes, you are musical. And I said, what are you talking about? It's like, I just play a couple instruments and I can sing these things and do this and I understand these notes and now I've got vocabulary. Turns out that I gravitated towards it. I might be a little bit on the spectrum. Long story short, I really enjoy music because it scratches that little part of my brain and I love sharing that with other people. So when going through here, Tone deaf folks, just keep at everything we're about to show. Remember, we're working on these things as bullet points. People that have relative pitch, the more you do this, the closer you get to your relative note value. The more you see correlations between your notes, 1, 3, 5, the more you see between going through the idea of hearing, ha, ha, and then being able to sit on your instrument of choice and hearing those intervals is really something. Because it allows you to take your instrument of choice, let's say it's ukulele, and hear those. What is a 1 to 7, major 7? When you play it with the rest of the chord, it sounds gorgeous. But when you just play it by themselves, that dissonance is icky. Yum. When we flatten that value from a major 7th to a minor 7th in the key of C, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ta. When we say these out here, this ta or la, li. Li is always the upper from what I've learned. Li and then ta. They all have different names. This one's not going to be la, ti. This one's the lay. This is the say. This has the may. This here's the re. Whenever you transfer out vowels and these silly things, you do I for E and you do A for U generally. And here's an I for A, ta. I've also heard this as two. It just really depends. In fact, I've talked with people that have never heard the secondary phrasing for the chromatic scale. So what we've covered today on some level is the basics on how to start singing using the minor seconds included into a 12-note system called a chromatic scale. And then we have our 7-note system, which is called a diatonic scale. The way that we do these is we try to work on relative pitch unless you have perfect pitch, and this is just a regiment you do every day. Do it in the shower, do it while you're in the car. You could do it screaming at people down the block. I don't care, just as long as you do it 5 minutes a day. When we're starting this off, we are looking for 3 different things onto which I'm going to list over here. I'm going to get rid of our circle because it is not important to us at this point. And if you've never seen the circle before, please check it out. It's on my channel. If you don't like the way I explain it, check out any channel. I would suggest Grant over at Music Matters does a great job with it. And then Yen Larson. They're a jazz guitarist, but the way that they explain it is great. Talks about relationship values. So over here, one of the bullet points we're going to do here for this is breath control. When we have breath control, we know how to breathe. The second thing is our duration. When we have durations that are long, it's called legato. When we have durations that are short, it's called staccato. These 2 methodologies plus tonal note values will increase all value of singing. It will go from not having any structure to having a little structure, and then showing proof is in the pudding. This is what we would consider writing neuron synapses, I guess. So you can train your brain and your vocal cords, the amount of air you have, and then the way that you relate it to the song is making it your own, I think is where we're getting at. These are the steps to take. Breathing or breath control is a great one. Duration or the length of the notes. We also would consider this to be somewhat part of something called dynamics, because it allows us to change the music. So breath control, duration, and dynamics in the same thing. And then here, the most important one is our interval relationships, or just intervals, I guess, to put it bluntly. What we talked about here was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, strictly speaking for the diatonic scales. When we do these all in a row, let me hear if I could hear that C. That is a major scale. If we can hear this note, and then we altered this note by sharpening it, we would be giving ourselves an augmented fourth, moving it from the third to the fourth, but not going to fa, moving up to C, or fi. So we have do, re, mi, fi. This note is what we call a sharp 4, and it gives us a mode called Lydian. Lydian is lighter and airier than any other mode. It allows us to view all music through the major, like we do, but now this chord structure has a raised fourth. For the fingers all day, Lydian. When we do another mode that has none of this and it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's Ionian. The next mode after that would be Mixolydian. The thing we would be doing is we would be flattening the seventh. So instead of saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, tonic, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major 6, minor 7, 1. That's called a backdoor resolution. Mixolydian gives us the flat 7, building more tension in the resolution. The next thing we could do is work through all of our modes as far as a music foundation with your instrument or vocals alone. We would then go to something we call Dorian. Dorian's has a natural 6, meaning you're going to play a minor scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. Our natural minor would be flat 6, flat 7, 1. But here, when we're playing C minor, and allow me, when we're doing this, we would also have the key that it corresponds to. So we would need to have like B flat. We would also have E flat, A flat. The reason why is there are 3 flats in the key of C minor or E flat. When we take these notes and we just keep these here, there's no need to put that into the clef. Unless you're writing in the key of C, you don't need to put accidentals here on the staff. It's a given. Since there are 3 flats, and one of them happens to be this note, to get a C minor, C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. To have Dorian, we would need to take our 6th scale degree and make it a natural. That's what an accidental is for. So rather than hearing, we hear, by doing this every day, working on your modes or your scales and hearing the notes that are different from the 7 notes that are do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, you will be challenging yourself to do 2 things. 1, move the notes of these 7-note patterns to different places onto which would cause dissonances, cause a little bit movement with the fingers. It's going to cause a little bit movement in your brain. Writing them out like I did allows you to visually see them. And then by going through your modal structures, from lightest to darkest, most airiest, to the little bit more, I guess, deep and sulky and melancholy. The next one would be our natural minor. It has a flat 3. It has a flat 6 and a flat 7. See how the Dorian's different now because it also has the flat 3 and the flat 7. But now the thing that makes it Dorian is the natural 6. I'm not going to put those on there because that has nothing to do with it. Our next one here after we do it is going to be Phrygian. Phrygian's wonderful. It has flat 2, flat 3, flat 6, and flat 7. That's what makes Phrygian different than natural minor. And then lastly, with the 7 notes, we've got our Locrian. Locrian has a flat 2, as Phrygian does, but it also then has a flat 5 in addition to a flat 6 and a flat 7. Thusly, here's what we're looking at, folks. If you can go through, and also, I've been doing these down below an octave. Hello? Sure. You could go down an octave and play those from the 8BA. A whole time that I've been writing this, I've been writing this in the standard clef. However, it is in a lowered clef that allows us to have a lower method. So, when we're watching this, our voice below, 8BA, an octave, a P8 below, would be the low register. I'm going to try and do this for us. Just listen. We would start off with our Lydian. You can go backwards. backwards, I would suggest trying to start forwards, then you go backwards. Experience that sharp 4, right? Then try to work on that sharp 4. If you are a musician doing just your instrument, then play something like work on the intervals between there. I always tell any student that wants to work on modal theory that the modes, the best part of them are the half steps. That's where the real tension, the pull, pushes, the meat and potatoes, the pizzazz, the chung, the aha. That's where it is. That's where you get the goosebumps when you're listening to music. You're like, wowzers, cool. At least it is for me, and I hope you dig on it. When doing this, if we were to go to our next one, it's just our major scale. The reason why we want to know that is it diversifies itself from being Lydian. La 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 la, ra 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 ra, ka 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 ka. Doing it with different diction allows us to feel the different ways that the air comes out of our mouth. The Indians came up with this about, I think it was 5,000 or maybe 6,000 years ago. There are just generally about 5 different ways. Air either comes out fully like a ah, like this, like amen, or it has our lower tongue, like here, love, Langley, lump, limp. It's down amongst the bottom. If we're doing something like a ta, or maybe like a thought, the T's, or a lemon up on top, it touches the top and then it comes out lemon meringue. If you do meringue or something like that, N is a good one. It's the same as down here, flat, but you have a You're actually pushing the top of the tongue against your palate. The different ways of this is how the air comes out from the back, either through the top, out the front, using the tongue to separate and have a little bit of kind of have diction between different types of languages. Now, eventually all languages are probably going to amalgamate into one, meaning all of these will still be present in some way, shape, or form, and then music will take on a different way from there. Our Mixolydian is just like our major. It's just like our Lydian, and it's just like all of our other major scales, except for now we're going to have our flat 7. So when singing, you go through all of them to get there. By doing this, you can hear the difference between that major 7th degree and the minor 7th degree. And when putting them in practical application with the notes themselves through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on what you're playing, you know. You wouldn't have a drastic switch from that F minor 6 to the C7. So if you're doing something drastic with your vocals, it's because it's written, and that's what you practice on. Make sure you have a pencil. But as far as going through here, it would feel something like this down to the Dorian. When we have our natural minor, we flatten that. When we have our Phrygian, we add that flat second. And then Looker, and my favorite, we have our The reason why that flat 5 builds a lot more tension. And when I did that, did anybody else hear Led Zeppelin? I hope so. If we're doing it with our instrument, let's just say since I have the ukulele in my hand, we could show this. We could also show it on the piano. Once you can go through this by picking a key, hearing like C, and express yourself through all your modes singing, let's do it with their number value, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then what you do to them for the mode. That's a great way to learn what makes a mode then. Lydian, sharp 4. Ready? 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Ionian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Mixolydian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. We're going to be doing Dorian. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, natural 6, flat 7, 1. Dorian by far to me is the hardest one to do, and I love the way it gives a little color to the chords. It's wonderful. Jazz. Think about that. And then our next one's going to be our natural minor. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. When we do our Phrygian, we have a flat 2, 1, flat 2, 3, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. And then lastly, Locrian, 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. By being able to go through all these with your voice, you can then translate that over to your instrument. Knowing the modes is great, but here's why vocally I think it's super important. Breathing control allows us to do everything we just did with long notes. Ha, and be long and flowing and experience those half steps. If we do them short and detached staccato, ha, 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 you can actually hear the notes and where you're moving those 7 notes in and out of that chromatic scale, picking up different mode ideas and melodies and motifs as we go. After we do that, the whole thing about duration is how do you want to hold those out? What dynamic do you have? Are you singing very loudly or you're singing very softly? Is there an in-between? Can you still get the same tone quality from that? Can you hear by going to your falsetto? Or can you hear, I wonder if I should do this. See how I'm cutting out? I haven't practiced hitting my full voice in a long time. I should actually. Maybe sing some Kansas today on the ride home. When doing Dorian, natural minor, those are the 2 hardest for me. You're always going to find things that are easy and hard. In fact, one of my favorite things is do the steps, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, forward, which is Ionian, then do it backwards. And what you'll find, that Phrygian is your mirror image. You get different modes forwards if you keep the structure of where the intervals are, but reverse the notes of where you go. If that was too over the head, look at a video I did called Mirror Modes. You'll love it. The next step that I'd really like to get down into is this. Ready? Here is E Phrygian. E Phrygian is only found in the key of A minor and C major because C Ionian moves to D Dorian. And then we find ourselves playing E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. This gives us the spacings that is charismatic of our Phrygian mode. Because we're no longer doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have, because we shifted it, we're just starting from a different interval. We are starting here from our 3rd scale, so we go half step. Ooh. And then we do whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. By doing this, it gives us the phrasing of. So knowing that allows us to sing Phrygian and play any mode. But let's try Ionian. It didn't sound like a weird mode Phrygian with that half step, because the note that was underneath it, that was supporting it, was a perfect temperament between the notes. And that's kind of where the dyad function comes. The reason why this is called a diatonic scale is because the notes that we play in correlation with each other form harmonies. Those harmonies are either consonances, which are super pleasing, like C and E, or they're super non-pleasing, like C and B. Yucky. It's either a minor 2nd or it's going to be a major 7th, above and below. That one, when we went from a low C to a high B, you hear how that is? Goes up in tone. That's a major 7th. So by being able to see what this is and go through this, what you notice is some of the intervals are harder to do than others. Most of us who have relative pitch should be able to go ha 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 ha. It is kind of odd to go ha. So really that half step is only occurring in the beginning modes through the eyes of the minor keys, especially after natural minor. You would have Phrygian and Locrian. Well, there are other modes. I call them hats on hats because you could take a mode like, I don't know, natural minor. And by altering those, you could go to the second note that was there. We have our C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. Well, that's our C natural minor. If we alter one of those notes, let's say the last one, we get C harmonic minor. Ha, 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 ha. By practicing that C to the major 7 just through this stuff vocally, when you are playing your instrument of choice, I guarantee you will hear it. It will feel better. You will hear the symmetry. Some of the modes suck. Like, let's try doing C major, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and listen and sound what Lydian sounds like. Now, in the key of C, C, D, E, F, we would have F. So F, G, A, B, C, ha, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, sharp 4. If we can do that, ha, 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 over the top of a C, ha, 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 ha. Interesting. How about Phrygian again? Ha, 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 ha. When you start singing Lydian over the top of Ionian, you start to hear what a resemblance of something called a perfect fourth is. This perfect fourth allows us to do some pretty cool things musically. I'd suggest like maybe some 90s music. Check out Dave Matthews' Seek Up. Uses the force to build a cool tempo underneath a build-up. Other than that, this should open up the doorway to being able to do this for every mode. The weirder ones to me are like Dorian and Locrian, but I've practiced Locrian so many times that I really enjoy writing with it now. Let's move over to the piano and show you how to do that. Most people who do vocals generally will also have a piano that is the instrument of choice to work with. If you do not have a piano, sometimes a harp is great. And then having one of these. This one's called a chromatic tuner or a pocket harp. They come in different types. This is the one that I saw my teachers in college had, so I snagged the same one. It's childproof, so good luck. There we go. Comes with a fine felt backer. Here it has a swivel that goes around on a standard 2-piece plastic and then chromium, I think, up top. It gives you all of your notes. It goes from C to octave C. So you have a range here of going from low C up to high C. So if you wanted to go and go da 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 and move it up here, let's say we move it up to our G, a fifth way. And you wanted to practice your modes of G from lightest to darkest. The fingering's great. You can use that as well. Each one of these was Lydian, 1, 2, 3, sharp 4. Then we had our, and it continued the mode with the sharps are in the key. And then we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. This is our mix of Lydian, 1. And then G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G. There's our natural minor, but we want to make this a raised note. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, natural 6, flat 7, 1. You see how all these just alter those 7 notes. If you can do this with your voice and say, cool, we're in the key of G, I want to sing something called, how about E natural minor? But I want to play G major. By doing this, you are creating muscle memory of how to hear harmonies. And I gotta say, I've been singing for quite a while. I did not know that I had the ability to sing. Just somebody's like, oh, you got a good voice. And then I did a little bit of like communal congregation stuff when I was younger. I have thusly fallen away from anything that would be considered non secular. And then the long story short is here I am. I teach both in my common day, so I am very much well aware that all music stemmed from the church, and through the different lineages and through the different geographical places, plus, as we already talked about, diction of language, how that all came together. And that's kind of where our common current day is. I myself have gone over to the Eastern realm of thinking of things metaphorically, spiritually, and then physically, trying to see my materialistic world through something other than the Western programming. Still working on it. Other than that, I really enjoy what we're doing here today, because this is something you do not need to have an instrument for. If you do have an instrument, you can also use that, as I just showed you. It's called mode singing. You're using 7 notes to hear a mode, and then you're putting it over another. I have found, me personally, that this is the best way to teach chord and note relationships to every one of my students. I've tried different ideas on how to do this, and I know this seems extremely advanced. It is. This is college level music. The reason why it's taught at college level music, it is the most definitive way to understand what chord and note relationships are. And then for the rest of our lives, we kind of just work on creating this to become personal or part of a group setting. We work on breath control, on where to breathe in a piece of music, or how to stagger out the durations of notes, whole notes, half notes, 16ths, eighth notes, 30 seconds, where the rests are, how to utilize those rests in writing and in singing. Duration of rhythms and dynamics, using different ways to sing these, like going, how about Mixolydian, going forwards and backwards in interval portions of 3 notes, going up 1 and dropping on a note. So if we're starting in C, by changing 1 note, we move the interval mass. Well, it sounds awkward to hear that B flat in there, but the more you train on doing that, then the more normal it becomes, because you're going to start hearing this chord. The breath support that you have underneath there allows you to hit things. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't really know much about the end result, but I think that rock stars have figured out their own breath control, their own duration and notes, and make these things personal to them. I've found that when I'm trying to do like high notes, what would be a good example? How about Les Mis? One more day before the dawn. That apex note. One more day. For me, that's a B. What is that? A B4? Not great. One more day. One more day. One more day. It's hard to hit those in full voice. Well, that's my practice. If I'm trying to hit that note for that song in that key for an audition, or working on it with a student, I work on those going lower. One more day, one more day, one more day, one more day. And I work on those intervals in every key. Always. That's the whole idea. In fact, if you haven't stumbled upon this in music, one of the greatest ways to learn how to do something is to learn it like for every key. So if we were like 1, 3, sharp 5, you would try it in every key, moving these up to hear what it sounds like, right? And then eventually this just becomes part of your playing. You will start to hear. And maybe you can come up with some Mingus stuff or some AKST stuff. Anyway, I think that's the end of this. I think we covered all the branches of this. If you're watching this in the future and you have questions or you have critique it, you want to put something different in there, great. There also is a function in here called Gemini. I'm pretty sure it looks like kind of like this. You press it and you ask a question. Hey, AI, would you be a deer? And summarize and timestamp this video. It will go through everything I just blah, blah, blah about and then put a stamp on it. If we're talking about diatonic scales, great. If we're talking about chromatic movements, great. And yes, I do understand there are a million pieces of information in here. It would be impossible to understand all this. It's not about one day. It's not about 1 week or a month. It's a yearly, it's a lifetime journey to do this. Start today, don't wait. Enjoy vocals. This is a great way to practice. And I guarantee you, if you could do this, you will start hearing melodies arise in your head maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe in a week. For me, it took about 4 years. But then again, it also took a lot of writing as well. And then lastly, I'd just like to call notice to this shirt. This is from a company called iReal Pro. They've got a wonderful app out there. It's about $20, but it's worth every penny of it. If you get that, ask me questions. I will show you how to use it. There are a few videos on this channel. You could also Google them. It is a practice tool that allows you to move tempos, modulate, look at chord structures, both in Roman numeral, Chord Pro, and then to see the relationships. It won't allow you to write in certain ways, therefore it is a great tool to see how music goes together. If you ever have any questions on how to write anything, what chords go well with this, or you just want to chat, stop by the channel. I would love to talk story with you. Other than that, check out the channel. 13, 14, 2 million types of videos on here. I would say that there's bound to be something that you dig on this channel. And if you don't, this might not be the channel for you. But if you do and you like to scratch that little part of your brain, which is music theory, I'm glad to have you. Aloha. Thank you.